Hey, so tonight we're going to talk about something really different, something that probably sits so far outside your modern understanding of comfort and choice, it might just make you shiver a little, even with your soft blanket and warm drink. We're going to peel back the layers of romanticized history and dive headfirst into the stark, often brutal reality of what it was really like to be born a princess in the Middle Ages. Forget the fairy tales, the glittering gowns, and the handsome princes waiting to whisk you away. This was a life dictated by survival, politics, and a crushing lack of personal agency from the moment you drew your first breath. It was a world of cold stone, uncertain futures, and constant vulnerability, a far cry from the heated homes and personal freedoms you enjoy. Are you ready to step back in time to truly feel the grit and the grandeur, the terror and the duty? All right, find that cozy spot, settle in, and let's journey together into a life you'd scarcely recognize as your own. You emerge into a world that is, by any modern standard, utterly alien and terrifyingly precarious. Forget the sterile, brightly lit delivery rooms, the hushed voices of medical professionals, the array of advanced instruments, and the immediate, reassuring presence of a highly trained doctor or midwife with access to antibiotics and pain relief. None of that exists for you, born a princess in the heart of the Middle Ages, say the early 13th century. Your birth chamber, while perhaps the grandest in the castle, is still a place of profound darkness, thick with the scent of fear, blood, sweat, and perhaps a few herbal remedies whose efficacy is more rooted in superstition than science. The air is heavy, still, and cold, even in what might be considered summer. Drafts snake through the ill-fitting windows and under massive carved doors, carrying with them the damp chill of stone and the pervasive, earthy smell of the castle itself, a mix of wood smoke, unwashed bodies, stale food, and the ever-present underlying stench of human waste that permeates even the finest dwellings. You, as the newborn, are not greeted with immediate, joyful exclamations of, "It's a girl," or "She's beautiful." Not in the way you might imagine. The primary concern, the singular, overwhelming preoccupation of everyone present, is not your cuteness or your health in the long term, but your sheer survival. Birth itself is a dance with death, a harrowing gamble for both mother and child. Your mother, the queen or a high-ranking noblewoman, has likely endured days of agonizing labor, her screams echoing through the thick walls, muffled only by tapestries or the sheer volume of prayers being chanted by the women gathered around her. She lies on a rough bed, perhaps with a few layers of linen, but certainly without the comfort or hygiene you would expect. Her body is racked, exhausted, and bleeding. The women attending her, a collection of experienced midwives, elderly female relatives, and perhaps a few superstitious village women with their charms and incantations, are themselves operating on the razor's edge of medical knowledge, which is to say very little. They understand the mechanics of birth through generations of observation, but the concept of germ theory is centuries away. Their hands, though perhaps washed in cold water, carry unseen threats. When you finally slide into this world, slick with blood and mucus, your first cry is not merely a sign of life, but a declaration of victory against overwhelming odds. But even then, the relief is tempered by immediate, urgent scrutiny. Are you breathing? Is your skin the right color? Do you seem strong? The first few minutes are critical. If you are weak, if you don't cry robustly, if there is any sign of deformity or illness, the whispers begin. A child, especially a royal child, must be perfect or as close to it as possible. A sickly princess is a liability, an imperfect vessel for the dynastic ambitions of her family. You are quickly swaddled, perhaps a bit too tightly, in rough linen cloths, binding your limbs to keep you warm and, some believed, to ensure they grew straight. This practice, while intended to protect, could also restrict movement and hinder development. The first person to truly hold you might not even be your mother. She is likely too spent, too close to the precipice of her own survival to do more than glance at you, her face pale and drawn. Instead, you are passed to the chief midwife or a waiting lady-in-waiting, who quickly inspects you. The priority is not emotional bonding but pragmatic assessment. Are you viable? Are you a potential asset? And crucially, what is your gender? While the initial joy of a live birth is universal, the gender of a royal child carries immense political weight. If you are a boy, the relief and celebration are palpable, a tangible weight lifting from the shoulders of the entire court. The succession is secured, the dynasty continues, alliances can be forged. If you are a girl, as you are in this scenario, the reaction is more subdued. There is still relief, of course. A live child is always better than none. But the underlying current of disappointment, however subtle, is unmistakable. You are a princess, a valuable commodity, yes, but not the direct heir, not the one to carry the family name in lands directly. Your purpose will be different, more indirect, more instrumental. You're a girl. This realization settles over the room like a fine dust. The king, your father, if he is present, might offer a polite nod, a customary kiss to his exhausted wife, and then retreat to his council chambers to discuss more pressing matters of state. Your birth, while significant, is merely a preliminary step in a much larger political game. You are not a cherished individual in the modern sense, but a piece on a chessboard, your future value to be determined by your ability to secure alliances, produce heirs, and expand your family's influence. The sounds of your birth chamber are a cacophony of medieval life. The crackling of a small fire in the hearth, struggling to ward off the chill. The low murmuring of women, their prayers like a soft hum. The clatter of metal basins, perhaps containing water that is far from sterile. The occasional whimper or groan from your mother. And then your own cries, tiny and vulnerable, yet surprisingly potent, filling the space. The smells are pungent and visceral, the coppery tang of fresh blood, the earthy scent of straw on the floor, the musky odor of unwashed bodies, the faint sweetness of burning herbs meant to ward off evil spirits or miasmas, and the acrid smell of fear that clings to everything. You are quickly named, often after a saint, a powerful ancestor, or a strategically chosen foreign queen, all with an eye toward future political leverage. Let's say you are named Eleanor, after Eleanor of Aquitaine, a name that evokes power and prestige. But even your name is not truly your own. It is a tool, a symbol. You are Eleanor, princess of your fictional kingdom, a title that sounds grand but carries with it an immense, unspoken burden. In these first hours, you are utterly helpless, entirely dependent on the care, however rough or rudimentary, provided by others. You are washed, perhaps with a cloth dipped in cold water, a shock to your system. Your umbilical cord is tied off and cut, likely with an unsterilized knife or even a heated thread, a procedure fraught with danger, as infection is a constant, invisible enemy. Many infants do not survive this initial period, succumbing to infections, respiratory issues, or simply a failure to thrive in a world that offers no easy comfort. You are a survivor, even in these first moments, a testament to a resilience that will be demanded of you throughout your life. As the first light of dawn begins to filter through the narrow, leaded windows, painting weak patterns on the stone walls, you are finally placed in a rough wooden cradle, perhaps lined with a thin layer of straw and a coarse wool blanket. Your mother, if she has the strength, might reach out a trembling hand to touch your tiny head, a fleeting moment of maternal connection amidst the overwhelming reality of her own recovery and the political machinations that your birth has set in motion. But for you, the journey has just begun. The cold, hard world of medieval royalty has claimed you, and your future, far from being a blank canvas, is already largely written, dictated by the blood that runs in your veins and the expectations of a powerful, unforgiving lineage. You are a princess, yes, but first and foremost, you are a pawn, a potential tool, and a fragile life facing a formidable world. Your modern self, cocooned in warmth and certainty, can only begin to imagine the sheer, unadulterated vulnerability of that first breath. You are alive, but the fight has just begun. You are a few days old now, perhaps a week, and the initial frantic assessments of your viability have given way to a more structured, albeit still precarious, routine. Your new home is the nursery, a chamber within the castle often chosen for its relative warmth and isolation from the main hustle and bustle of court life. But warmth is a relative term in the Middle Ages. Even with a roaring fire in the hearth, the stone walls radiate a persistent chill, a dampness that seeps into your bones. The air is often thick with the smell of wood smoke, which, while providing heat, also fills your tiny lungs with particulate matter that would horrify a modern pediatrician. Your cradle, a simple wooden structure, is far from the plush, padded bassinets of today. It's likely unadorned, perhaps carved with a few symbols for protection, but its primary function is containment. You lie on a straw mattress, which might offer some insulation but is also a haven for fleas, lice, and other unseen creatures. Over this, a few layers of coarse linen or wool are placed, providing minimal comfort. There are no soft, breathable cotton sheets, no hypoallergenic materials, no temperature-controlled environments. You are swaddled tightly, your arms and legs bound, a practice believed to keep you warm, safe, and to ensure proper limb development. This restriction, however, denies you the natural movements crucial for motor skill development and self-soothing, further emphasizing the lack of individual agency that defines your early life. Your primary caregiver is not your mother, certainly not in the intimate, hands-on way you might expect today. Your mother, the Queen, has her own arduous recovery to contend with, and her duties extend far beyond the nursery. She is a political figure, a symbol of stability, and her time is consumed by statecraft, religious observance, and maintaining the intricate web of courtly etiquette. Instead, you are entrusted to a wet nurse, a woman chosen not for her nurturing personality or educational background, but for her robust health, good character, and most importantly, her abundant supply of breast milk. This wet nurse, often a peasant woman from the surrounding lands, leaves her own child to suckle yours. This practice, while seemingly cold to modern sensibilities, was a pragmatic necessity. It ensured that the royal infant received the best possible nutrition, breast milk, at a time when other food sources for infants were scarce and often dangerous. But it also meant that your first, most intimate bond was not with your biological mother, but with a woman whose primary role was functional. She would be the first face you learned to recognize, the first voice to soothe your cries, the first source of comfort and sustenance. Her scent, her touch, her lullabies, these would form the bedrock of your earliest sensory experiences. The nursery is not a quiet, private space. It's often a hive of activity, albeit a subdued one. Besides your wet nurse, there are other attendants. A dry nurse to change your soiled linens and generally assist, a cradle rocker, and perhaps a few younger ladies in waiting or older children of the court, tasked with keeping an eye on you. Privacy as you understand it simply doesn't exist. You are always under observation, always part of a collective effort to keep you alive and healthy. The constant presence of others means a cacophony of low voices, the rustle of rough garments, the creak of wooden furniture, and the ever-present sounds of the castle filtering through the walls, distant shouts, the clang of metal, the barking of dogs, the bleating of sheep in the outer bailey, the mournful cry of a hawk. Hygiene, by modern standards, is rudimentary at best. Baths are rare, perhaps a full immersion bath once a week or even less frequently, depending on the season and the availability of heated water. Instead, you are likely wiped down with damp cloths, a process that might remove surface dirt but does little to combat the invisible threats of bacteria and viruses. Your soiled swaddling clothes are changed, but they are washed in cold water, often without soap, and then hung to dry in the damp castle air. The concept of sterilization is completely unknown. Your clothes, while perhaps made of finer linen or wool than a peasant child's, are still rough against your delicate skin, and they are not changed with the frequency that modern parents would consider essential. The greatest threat to your young life is disease. Childhood mortality rates are staggering. Smallpox, measles, dysentery, whooping cough, diphtheria, these are not distant threats but ever-present specters. A simple cough can quickly escalate into a fatal pneumonia. A bout of diarrhea caused by contaminated water or unhygienic practices can lead to rapid dehydration and death. There are no vaccines, no antibiotics, no understanding of how diseases spread. When an illness strikes, the response is often a mix of prayer, herbal remedies, and perhaps a visit from a barber surgeon who might offer crude bloodletting or purging, practices that often do more harm than good. You are constantly on the cusp, your tiny body battling against an invisible enemy that claims countless lives. The castle itself, while a symbol of power and security, is also a breeding ground for illness. Animals often share living spaces, bringing with them fleas, ticks, and diseases. Waste disposal is primitive, often involving simply throwing refuse out windows or into moiling pits, creating foul odors and attracting vermin. Water sources, while perhaps from a well, can easily become contaminated. The very air you breathe, thick with smoke and the exhalations of many people in close quarters, carries pathogens. You are literally cradled in cold stone, surrounded by both the grandeur of your birthright and the raw, untamed dangers of the medieval world. Your early interactions are limited. Your mother might visit the nursery occasionally, perhaps to check on your progress, to offer a brief, formal cuddle, or to ensure that the wet nurse is performing her duties adequately. These visits are often brief and infrequent, dictated by the demands of her royal station. Your father, the king, is an even more distant figure, his focus on matters of war, governance, and dynastic strategy. You are a symbol to him, a potential future alliance, but not yet an individual to be doted upon. Your emotional needs, as a modern parent would understand them, are largely unmet. Affection is not expressed freely or overtly. Survival and utility are paramount. As you grow through your infancy, perhaps reaching your first birthday, you are a miracle of resilience. You have navigated the treacherous waters of early childhood, a period during which more than half of all children did not survive. You begin to crawl, to babble, to take your first tentative steps on the cold, uneven stone floors. Your world slowly expands beyond the confines of your cradle, but it remains a tightly controlled, highly supervised environment. You are a royal infant, and every aspect of your life, from your feeding to your sleeping, is managed with an eye toward your future role. You might see other children in the castle, your older siblings if you have any, or the children of high-ranking courtiers. These interactions are often supervised and brief. Play, as you understand it, is not a central feature of your early years. Instead, your days are structured around feeding, sleeping, and quiet observation. There are no brightly colored toys, no soft playmats, no stimulating books. Your earliest toys might be a simple wooden rattle, a carved animal, or a piece of cloth. Your imagination is your primary playground, fostered in the quiet moments between being fed and being changed. The sounds that fill your ears are the constant hum of the castle, the distant clatter of the kitchens, the rhythmic clang of the blacksmith's hammer from the outer bailey, the calls of sentries, the braying of donkeys, the chirping of crickets in the stone crevices, and the ever-present whisper of the wind through the battlements. These sounds become the soundtrack to your earliest memories, shaping your auditory landscape. The smells are a rich tapestry, the sweet, comforting scent of your wet nurse's milk, the sharp tang of wood smoke, the earthy smell of damp stone, the faint aroma of roasting meat from the kitchens, and the less pleasant, but ubiquitous smell of human and animal waste that lingers even in the grandest halls. You are a princess born into privilege, but that privilege is defined by power and land, not by personal comfort or security in the way you might conceive of it. Your infancy is a testament to the harsh realities of medieval life, a constant battle against disease, discomfort, and the sheer unpredictability of existence. You are a survivor, and that resilience, forged in the cold stone of your nursery, will be a defining characteristic of the woman you are destined to become. You learn, even in these earliest days, that life is a struggle, and that your value is intrinsically linked to your ability to endure and fulfill the destiny laid out for you. Your modern self, surrounded by the safeguards of advanced medicine and endless comforts, can only marvel at the sheer tenacity required just to reach your first birthday. You are a medieval princess, and your cradle, far from being a soft haven, is a training ground for survival. The precariousness of infancy slowly gives way to the structured, duty-bound reality of early childhood. You are no longer just a fragile infant. You are a young princess, perhaps 3 or 4 years old, and the expectations begin to solidify around you like the very stone of the castle. Gone are the days of constant swaddling and the singular focus on mere survival. Now your education begins not in a formal classroom with colorful books and playful lessons, but through observation, imitation, and the relentless installation of proper conduct. Your playtime, if it can be called that, is profoundly different from the unstructured, imaginative romps of a modern child. Your world, while still confined within the castle walls, begins to expand. You are no longer solely in the nursery. You spend more time in the ladies' apartments, the great hall, and the castle chapel. Your days are dictated by a rigorous schedule, though it might not seem so to a modern observer. This schedule is less about learning specific subjects and more about internalizing the behaviors, values, and responsibilities of your station. You are constantly observed, constantly corrected. Every gesture, every word, every inclination is scrutinized for its appropriateness to a royal daughter. Your first lessons are in deportment and obedience. You learn to sit still, to listen to your elders, to speak only when spoken to, and to use the appropriate titles and forms of address. The concept of self-expression, as a modern child might understand it, is largely alien. Your individuality is secondary to your role. You are a vessel for the family's honor, a living embodiment of their status. Any deviation from expected behavior is met not with gentle encouragement, but with stern correction, perhaps a sharp word, a disapproving glance, or even a light physical reprimand from your governess or a lady-in-waiting. The goal is to shape you into a compliant, graceful, and politically useful woman. Religious instruction forms a significant portion of your early education. From a very young age, you are taught the tenets of the Christian faith. You learn prayers, psalms, and stories from the Bible. You attend Mass regularly, often daily, in the castle chapel, a cold, echoing space filled with the scent of incense and old stone. The services are long, conducted in Latin, a language you don't yet understand, but you are expected to sit quietly, to kneel, and to observe the rituals. The fear of God, the concept of sin, and the promise of salvation are drilled into you. This is not merely spiritual guidance. It is also a powerful tool for social control, teaching obedience, humility, and the acceptance of your place in the divinely ordained hierarchy. You learn that your very existence is part of God's plan, and to question it is to invite damnation. Your play is often structured and purposeful. You might be given simple wooden dolls, perhaps dressed in miniature versions of courtly attire, which you are encouraged to dress and undress, mimicking the daily routines of your own life and the lives of the ladies around you. You might learn to embroider or sew, practicing the delicate needlework that will be a constant companion throughout your life. These are not idle pastimes. They are practical skills, preparing you for the domestic management and artistic pursuits expected of a high-born lady. There are no brightly colored plastic toys, no complex puzzles, no interactive games designed for cognitive development. Your imagination is honed through storytelling, through the legends of saints and heroes, and through the quiet observation of the world around you. You are constantly surrounded by adults, primarily women. Your governess is a pivotal figure, a woman of good birth and impeccable reputation, tasked with overseeing every aspect of your upbringing. She is your constant shadow, your teacher, your disciplinarian, and, in some ways, your closest confidant, though the relationship is always defined by hierarchy. You learn from her example, from the conversations she has, from the way she interacts with others. You absorb the nuances of courtly life through osmosis, picking up on the subtle power dynamics, the unspoken rules, and the intricate dance of social interaction. Your interactions with your parents remain formal and infrequent. Your mother, the queen, might summon you to her chambers for a brief visit, perhaps to demonstrate your progress in some skill, or to receive a formal blessing. These are not moments of spontaneous affection, but rather structured encounters designed to reinforce your place in the family hierarchy. Your father, the king, remains a distant, almost mythical figure whose authority is absolute. You see him in the great hall during feasts or perhaps in the chapel, but direct, personal interaction is rare. His approval is paramount, but it is earned through obedience and the promise of future utility, not through childish charm or emotional appeals. The castle itself is your playground, but it's a cold, hard one. You learn to navigate its winding corridors, its steep, uneven staircases, its dark corners. The thick stone walls, while offering protection from external threats, also create a sense of enclosure. You rarely venture beyond the castle gates, and when you do, it is always under strict supervision, perhaps a short ride in the castle grounds, or a visit to a nearby church. The outside world is a place of danger, of peasants and commoners who live lives utterly alien to yours, and of potential enemies. Your world is contained, safe but also restricted. The smells of your childhood are a constant companion. The ever-present wood smoke, the damp stone, the faint aroma of cooking from the kitchens, roasting meat, simmering stews, baking bread, the pungent odor of unwashed bodies and animal waste, the sweet scent of dried herbs and flowers used to freshen chambers, and the metallic tang of armor and weapons from the guardroom. These smells are intertwined with your memories, forming a visceral tapestry of your early life. The sounds are equally diverse. The clatter of servants, the distant shouts of guards, the whinnying of horses, the baying of hounds, the melodic, or sometimes dissonant, strains of a lute or harp, the solemn chanting of monks, and the ever-present whisper of the wind through the battlements. You learn that your body is not entirely your own. It is a vessel, a symbol, and a tool for dynastic purposes. You are taught to carry yourself with grace and dignity, to control your expressions, to mask your emotions. This early training in self-control is crucial, as any outward display of weakness or impropriety could reflect poorly on your family and undermine their political standing. You are taught that your beauty, if you possess it, is another asset, something to be cultivated and presented in the most advantageous light for future marriage negotiations. As you approach the age of 7 or 8, the transition from child to young lady begins in earnest. The lessons become more focused, the expectations more stringent. You are no longer merely learning to exist within the castle. You are learning to perform the role of a princess. The seeds of your future are sown in these early years. A life of duty, sacrifice, and political maneuvering. You are being shaped, molded, and refined, not for your own happiness or fulfillment, but for the greater good of your family, your kingdom, and your lineage. Your childhood is not a time of carefree abandon. It is a rigorous apprenticeship, a period of intensive training for a life that will demand extraordinary resilience, political acumen, and emotional fortitude. You are taught that personal desires are secondary to dynastic imperatives. You are taught to endure, to obey, and to understand that your value lies not in who you are as an individual, but in what you represent and what you can achieve for your family through marriage and progeny. This understanding, instilled from your earliest conscious memories, becomes the bedrock of your identity, a burden and a purpose that will define every aspect of your existence. Your modern self, accustomed to the boundless possibilities of childhood and the freedom to pursue personal dreams, would find this existence stifling, almost heartbreakingly devoid of individual agency. But for you, a medieval princess, it is simply life, the only life you have ever known, and the only path laid out before you. As you transition from the tender years of early childhood into the more serious phase of preadolescence, roughly from age 7 to 12, your education intensifies dramatically. This is not merely about learning, but about acquiring the tools of survival and influence in a world where your voice, though royal, is often indirect. Forget the concept of a balanced curriculum designed for personal enrichment or critical thinking. Your education is rigorously practical, tailored to your future role as a dynastic asset, a queen consort, or a powerful abbess. Every subject, every skill, is taught with a specific strategic purpose in mind. Your most crucial lessons are in languages. Latin, the language of the church, of scholarship, and of international diplomacy, is paramount. You are drilled in its grammar and vocabulary, learning to read and understand religious texts, official documents, and the great works of classical antiquity. This isn't just about piety, it's about access to knowledge and communication with the wider European world. Imagine sitting in a cold, dimly lit chamber, your governess or a learned cleric patiently, or impatiently, guiding your small fingers over a vellum manuscript, the ink faded, the script dense and unfamiliar. The scratching of a quill, the rustle of parchment, the droning recitation of conjugations and declensions. These are the sounds of your intellectual awakening. You learn to translate, to decipher, to speak the language that binds the intellectual elite of your continent. Beyond Latin, you are likely to learn the language of your mother's court, if it differs from your father's, and, crucially, the language of the kingdom to which you are most likely to be married. If your father is King of France and negotiations are underway for a marriage to the heir of England, then English, or rather Anglo-Norman French, becomes a priority. This is not learned through immersion or playful lessons. It is rote memorization, repetition, and practical application. You might converse with a lady-in-waiting who speaks the target language, practicing phrases, learning idioms, understanding the nuances of courtly speech. This linguistic dexterity is not a hobby. It is a vital diplomatic tool, ensuring you can communicate effectively with your future husband, his court, and his people, minimizing friction and maximizing your ability to wield influence. Etiquette and courtly manners are another cornerstone of your education. This goes far beyond simply knowing which fork to use. Forks, in fact, are still a novelty if present at all. It encompasses every aspect of your public and private conduct. You learn how to greet a superior, an equal, and an inferior with the appropriate degree of deference or authority. You learn the intricate dance of courtly bows and curtsies, the precise way to hold your head, to walk, to sit. You are taught to control your facial expressions, to mask your true feelings, to present a serene and dignified facade at all times. Imagine being corrected for a slouch, a too loud laugh, an unladylike gesture, or an inappropriate comment. This constant refinement is relentless, designed to polish you into a flawless representative of your lineage. Your body is a canvas, and your movements are a carefully choreographed performance, always on display, always being judged. History and genealogy are also critical subjects, though again taught with a specific purpose. You learn the history of your own family, the triumphs and tragedies, the alliances and rivalries that have shaped your kingdom. You memorize the names of your ancestors, tracing your lineage back through generations, understanding the weight of their legacy. This knowledge is not merely academic. It is vital for understanding your place in the dynastic tapestry of Europe. You learn about the great royal houses, their interconnections, their claims to land and power. This context provides you with the political landscape you will navigate, allowing you to understand the implications of treaties, marriages, and wars. You learn that your bloodline is your currency, and its purity and power are paramount. Music and dance, while appearing as graceful accomplishments, also serve a social and diplomatic function. You might learn to play a lute, a harp, or a rebec, or to sing courtly songs. These skills provide entertainment for your future husband and his court, allowing you to contribute to the social fabric of your new kingdom. Dance, a formalized and often elaborate affair, teaches you grace, poise, and the ability to move with dignity in public settings. These are not pursuits for personal pleasure alone, but demonstrations of your refinement and suitability as a royal consort. Imagine the long hours spent practicing an instrument, your fingers growing sore, your voice tired, all under the watchful eye of a demanding tutor. The sounds of your practice, perhaps a repetitive melody, would fill the chamber, a counterpoint to the more serious lessons. Beyond these formal subjects, You are also immersed in the practical management of a large household. You observe the ladies of the court, learning about the administration of servants, the provisioning of food and supplies, the care of textiles, and the organization of daily life within a castle. While you won't be expected to perform these tasks yourself, you must understand them to effectively oversee your own future household as a queen or duchess. You learn the value of good management, of efficiency, and of maintaining order in a complex environment. Religious devotion continues to be a central theme. You are taught to read the Psalter, to understand the liturgy, and to engage in acts of piety. You learn about the lives of saints, their virtues, and their sacrifices. This deep religious grounding is not merely for your soul's salvation. It is also a public display of your moral rectitude, essential for a royal woman. A pious princess is a virtuous princess, and virtue is a highly prized commodity in the marriage market. You might spend hours in prayer, in contemplation, or in performing acts of charity, all under the guidance of a confessor or your governess. The scent of incense, the feel of cold stone beneath your kneeling knees, the rhythmic drone of prayers, these sensations become deeply ingrained. Physical activity, while not a structured sports curriculum, is also part of your development. You learn to ride a horse, not for pleasure alone, but as a practical skill for travel and for participating in ceremonial processions. You learn to handle yourself with grace and strength, to endure long journeys on horseback, and to present a dignified figure in public. You might also engage in gentle walks within the castle grounds or enclosed gardens, always chaperoned, always maintaining a demure posture. The learning environment is stark. Books are precious, often handwritten, and few in number. There are no blackboards, no projectors, no interactive whiteboards. Lessons are delivered orally through repetition and through copying texts. The ink is made from gallnuts and iron, the parchment from animal skin, and the light often comes from flickering candles or the weak, filtered sunlight of a medieval window. Your eyes strain, your fingers cramp from writing, your mind aches from memorization. There is no concept of learning disabilities or individualized instruction. You either grasp the material or you face the consequences of falling short of expectations. The smells of these learning years are varied. The musty scent of old books and parchment, the faint metallic tang of ink, the earthy smell of damp stone, the ever-present wood smoke, and the clean, sharp scent of beeswax candles. The sounds are equally diverse. The rustle of robes, the scratching of quills, the drone of lessons, the distant clang of the blacksmith, the calls of birds from the castle gardens, and the soft murmur of courtly life just beyond your study chamber. Throughout this period, the concept of personal choice remains largely absent. You are being prepared for a predetermined future, a life of duty and sacrifice. Your education is not about discovering your passions or pursuing your own interests. It is about equipping you with the skills necessary to fulfill your role as a royal woman, to serve your family, and to secure the future of your lineage. You are a living investment, and your education is the meticulous cultivation of that investment. The language of power that you learn is not just spoken words. It is the language of diplomacy, of courtly influence, of religious authority, and of the unyielding demands of your royal blood. Your modern self, with access to boundless information and the freedom to choose your own educational path, would find this structured, utilitarian approach to learning incredibly restrictive, a gilded cage for the mind. But for you, the princess, this is simply the path to survival and significance in a world that offers no other. As you enter your preteen and early teenage years, the rhythm of your life solidifies into a predictable, yet demanding, pattern. Your days are a meticulously woven tapestry of religious observance, practical duties, and the constant performance of your royal role. There is no concept of a weekend or leisure time in the modern sense. Every hour is accounted for, every activity imbued with purpose, whether spiritual, political, or practical. Your life is a continuous cycle of the sacred and the mundane, inextricably linked. Your day begins early, often before dawn, with the chilling dampness of the castle seeping into your chamber. A servant, perhaps your personal maid or a junior lady-in-waiting, would rouse you. There is no leisurely morning routine. You are helped to dress in your heavy, layered garments, chosen for warmth and propriety rather than comfort. The process is a ritual in itself, involving multiple tunics, underdresses, and an outer gown, all made of wool or linen, often stiff and scratchy against your skin. The air, even in your private chambers, is cold and still, carrying the scent of old stone and the faint, lingering odor of wood smoke from the previous night's fire. The first duty of the day is always religious. You proceed to the castle chapel for matins, the first of the canonical hours. Imagine walking through the dimly lit corridors, your breath misting in the cold air, the only sounds the soft rustle of your clothes and the hushed footsteps of your attendants. The chapel is even colder, the stone floor biting through your thin shoes. You kneel on a hard prie-dieu or perhaps directly on the flagstones, for a long service conducted entirely in Latin. The chanting of the priests, the smell of ancient incense, the flickering light of beeswax candles illuminating the painted saints on the walls, these sensory details become deeply ingrained. You are expected to be attentive, to pray, to reflect, even if your mind, still young, sometimes wanders. This daily ritual is a constant reminder of your spiritual obligations and the divine authority that underpins your family's rule. After matins, you would return to your chambers for a simple breakfast. This is not the elaborate affair of a modern family, nor the varied spread you might expect. It's likely bread, perhaps some cheese or dried meat, and watered wine or ale, as water sources are often unsafe. There are no exotic fruits, no processed cereals, no coffee or tea. The food is functional, providing sustenance for the day ahead. You eat quickly, discreetly, always aware of the watchful eyes of your attendants. The bulk of your morning is dedicated to your education as detailed previously. Lessons in Latin, French, perhaps another language, history, genealogy, and the intricate rules of etiquette. These are delivered by your governess, a chaplain, or a visiting tutor. The atmosphere is one of serious study, not playful discovery. The scratching of quills, the rustle of parchment, the drone of recitation, the occasional stern correction. These are the sounds of your intellectual development. You are learning the tools of your trade, the knowledge required to navigate the complex political and social landscape of medieval Europe. Afternoons often involve practical skills. Needlework is a constant companion. You learn to embroider intricate patterns, to sew fine seams, to mend garments. This is not merely a pastime. It is a vital skill for managing a household and for producing valuable items like tapestries, banners, and vestments. Imagine the hours spent, your fingers growing numb, your eyes straining in the dim light, creating delicate stitches that will adorn your future chambers or serve as gifts to important figures. The quiet concentration, the rhythmic pull of thread, the faint scent of linen and wool, these are the hallmarks of your afternoons. You might also spend time in the castle gardens, weather permitting, perhaps learning about herbs for medicinal purposes or simply taking a supervised stroll, always maintaining a dignified posture. Physical activity is limited but purposeful. Riding lessons are crucial, not for sport but for travel and ceremonial processions. You learn to sit side saddle, to control your horse with grace and authority, to endure long hours in the saddle. Imagine the feel of the rough leather, the smell of horse sweat and hay, the rhythmic thud of hooves on the dirt path. These lessons prepare you for the arduous journeys that will undoubtedly be part of your future as a royal bride. Daily religious observance continues with Vespers and Compline, later in the day. Again you are in the chapel, kneeling, praying, reflecting. This constant immersion in faith reinforces your understanding of your place in the universe, a small but important cog in God's grand design. The solemnity of these services provides a stark contrast to the often chaotic and earthy reality of castle life. Evening meals are often the most social events of your day, taking place in the Great Hall. This is not a private family dinner. It's a communal affair with your parents, their courtiers, and important guests all present. You sit at a high table, perhaps beside your mother, always observing, always learning. The hall is a cavernous space, filled with the roar of a massive fire, the clamor of voices, the clatter of trenchers and cups, the music of minstrels, and the boisterous laughter of knights and lords. The air is thick with the smell of roasting meat, stale ale, wood smoke, and the unwashed bodies of many people. You eat with your fingers, sharing trenchers of bread and meat, always mindful of your manners, never speaking out of turn. This is a performance, a demonstration of your family's wealth and power, and you are a part of that display. After the evening meal, there might be some entertainment, storytelling, music, perhaps a game of chess or dice. But your day ends relatively early. There is no concept of late-night television, social media, or personal pursuits. You are escorted back to your chambers, helped to undress, and likely fall into a deep sleep, exhausted by the physical and mental demands of the day. Your bed, while perhaps grander than a commoner's, is still a wooden frame with a straw mattress, covered by heavy wool blankets. The cold of the stone walls can still seep into your bones, even under layers of covers. Personal freedom, as you understand it, is virtually non-existent. You are always chaperoned, always watched. Your privacy is a luxury you rarely experience. Even in your own chambers, a lady-in-waiting or a maid is often present, attending to your needs, ensuring your safety, and implicitly monitoring your conduct. There are no moments of solitary reflection, no opportunities to simply be yourself. Your identity is inextricably linked to your role, and that role demands constant performance. The smells of your daily life are a rich, complex tapestry. The pervasive wood smoke, the damp stone, the sweet scent of dried herbs and flowers used to combat less pleasant odors, the aroma of cooking and stale food, the metallic tang of armor, the earthy smell of the stables, and the occasional waft of human and animal waste. The sounds are a constant symphony, the clang of the blacksmith, the distant shouts of guards, the braying of donkeys, the baying of hounds, the melodic strains of a lute, the solemn chanting of priests, the rustle of robes, the chatter of servants, and the ever-present whisper of the wind through the battlements. This life, a constant oscillation between the sacred and the mundane, prepares you for the demanding reality of being a royal consort. You learn discipline, resilience, and the art of performing your role with grace and dignity, even when your personal desires might chafe against the constraints of your station. You learn that your life is not your own, but a precious asset to be cultivated and deployed for the benefit of your family and your kingdom. Your modern self, with its emphasis on individual choice, personal space, and leisurely pursuits, would find this existence incredibly restrictive, almost monastic. But for you, the medieval princess, it is simply the fabric of your existence, the immutable reality of your birthright. In the Middle Ages, your clothing is far more than mere attire. It is a meticulously woven tapestry of your identity, your status, and your family's wealth and political power. Forget the endless choices of modern fashion, the comfort of soft, stretchy fabrics, or the simple act of throwing on a pair of jeans. For you, a medieval princess, every thread, every layer, every embellishment carries profound meaning, and the process of dressing is a daily ritual, often a cumbersome one, that reinforces your position in the rigid social hierarchy. Your day begins with the arduous task of dressing. There are no light, breathable undergarments. Instead, you start with a coarse linen chemise, worn directly against your skin. It's functional, absorbing sweat and providing a layer of protection from the heavier outer garments, but it's not designed for comfort. Over this, you might wear several tunics or underdresses, made of heavier linen or wool, depending on the season and the formality of the occasion. These are often stiff, unyielding, and scratchy, a constant physical reminder of your station. The layering is essential for warmth in the perpetually cold castle environment, but it also restricts your movement, forcing you into a more stately, controlled posture. The outer gown is the most significant piece, a visual declaration of your royal status. These gowns are typically made of fine wool, silk, or even velvet, if your family is particularly wealthy. The colors are rich and vibrant, often dyed with expensive pigments like woad for blues, madder for reds, or weld for yellows, each color signaling status and cost. Imagine the weight of these fabrics, the rustle of silk, the dull sheen of velvet. The gown is often intricately cut, sometimes laced up the back or sides, requiring the assistance of your ladies-in-waiting to don. There are no zippers, no elastic, no simple fastenings. Every closure is a hook, an eye, or a laborious lacing. Embellishments are crucial. Your gowns are not plain. They are adorned with embroidery, often depicting heraldic symbols, religious motifs, or intricate floral patterns. These are not merely decorative. They are narratives telling the story of your lineage, your faith, and your family's prestige. Gold and silver thread might be woven into the fabric, or pearls and precious stones sewn onto the neckline and sleeves, especially for formal occasions. Imagine the dazzling glint of these jewels, the intricate detail of the embroidery, each stitch representing hours of labor by skilled artisans. These adornments are a constant, heavy weight, physically and symbolically, reminding you and everyone around you of your immense value. Headwear is another critical component of your attire. Young, unmarried princesses often wear simple veils or circlets, but as you grow older, your headwear becomes more elaborate. A wimple and veil, covering your hair and neck, signifies modesty and piety. Over this, you might wear a jeweled fillet, a small crown, or a more elaborate headdress like a hennin, if you are in the later Middle Ages. Your hair, carefully braided and styled, is rarely seen uncovered in public, as it is considered immodest. The weight of these headpieces, sometimes quite substantial, adds to the physical burden of your royal attire. Footwear consists of simple leather shoes or soft boots, often pointed, but without the arch support or cushioning of modern footwear. The castle floors are cold, hard stone, and your feet are constantly exposed to dampness and chill. There are no soft slippers, no comfortable sneakers. Your shoes are functional but often uncomfortable, contributing to the overall physical discomfort that is a constant backdrop to your royal life. Jewelry is also a significant marker of your status. Necklaces, rings, and brooches, often featuring precious stones, are worn not just for beauty but as portable wealth and symbols of power. These pieces might be family heirlooms, gifts from foreign dignitaries, or markers of your betrothal. The glint of gold, the sparkle of a sapphire, these are not merely pretty objects. They are statements, declarations of your family's power and influence. The sheer weight and bulk of your clothing restrict your movement. You cannot run, jump, or move with uninhibited freedom. Every step, every gesture must be considered and stately. This contributes to the dignified, often rigid, posture expected of a royal woman. Your clothing is a constant, physical reminder of the constraints of your life. It is beautiful, yes, but it is also a cage, albeit a gilded one. Hygiene, or the lack thereof, is perhaps the starkest contrast to modern life. Forget daily showers, fragrant soaps, and an array of personal care products. Baths are a rare luxury, often taken only on special occasions like weddings or major feast days, and even then the water might be shared or simply lukewarm. The concept of germ theory is millennia away, and the understanding of personal cleanliness is rudimentary. You are likely to be wiped down with damp cloths, and perhaps scented with dried herbs or rosewater, but a thorough cleansing is infrequent. Your clothes, particularly the undergarments, are changed more frequently than outer gowns, but not with the daily regularity you'd expect. The outer gowns, being expensive and difficult to clean, are worn for extended periods, perhaps weeks or even months, only being aired out or spot cleaned. Imagine the accumulation of sweat, body odor, and the general grime of castle life on these heavy fabrics. The smell of unwashed wool, mixed with the faint scent of perfumes and dried herbs meant to mask odors, would be a constant presence. Hair care is also a challenge. Washing your hair is an infrequent event, perhaps once a month, if that. Instead, it is brushed, braided, and covered. Combs are made of wood or bone, and lice are a persistent problem, even among the nobility. Your hair, when not covered, would likely carry the scent of unwashed scalp, mixed with any perfumes or pomades applied. The lack of modern sanitation extends to bodily functions. Privy chambers, while present in some castles, are often simple holes leading to a cesspit below. The smells are pungent and unavoidable. Chamber pots are used frequently, and while they are emptied by servants, the lingering odors are a fact of life. You are constantly surrounded by the smells of human and animal waste, cooking, wood smoke, and unwashed bodies, all mingling to create a unique, pervasive medieval aroma that would be profoundly shocking to modern sensibilities. The constant presence of others means that even your most private moments are not truly private. Your ladies-in-waiting assist you with dressing, with your hair, and are often present in your chambers throughout the day. The concept of personal space is a modern invention. You are always under observation, always part of a collective effort to maintain your royal image. There is no quiet solitude, no escape from the scrutiny of the court. Your clothing, your hygiene, your very physical being, these are all meticulously controlled and managed, not for your personal comfort or preference, but for the projection of power, wealth, and status. The threads of your identity are not spun by your own choices, but by the rigid expectations of your lineage and the political demands of your world. You are a living symbol, and every aspect of your appearance is designed to communicate that symbol to the world. Your modern self, with its freedom of expression through fashion and its expectation of personal cleanliness, would find this existence profoundly uncomfortable, a constant negotiation with discomfort and a profound lack of personal autonomy. But for you, the medieval princess, this is simply the reality of your gilded cage, a constant, tangible reminder of your purpose and your inescapable role. For most of your young life, your world is the castle. It is your sanctuary, your school, your prison, and the very symbol of your family's power. Imagine the colossal stone walls, often dozens of feet thick, rising majestically against the sky, punctuated by formidable towers and battlements. These walls, while offering an undeniable sense of security, also create a profound sense of enclosure, limiting your direct experience of the vast, complex world beyond. Your view, for the longest time, is literally and figuratively framed by these cold, unyielding stones. Your understanding of the world is primarily mediated through others. Your governess, your tutors, the stories of knights and travelers, and the occasional glimpse of the world outside the castle gates. You hear tales of distant lands, of crusades, of other royal courts, but these are abstract concepts, filtered through the biases and experiences of the tellers. Your direct observation is limited to what you can see from a narrow arrow-slit window, or from the castle walls during a supervised walk. From these vantage points, you observe a bustling, vibrant, yet often harsh medieval landscape. You see the outer bailey, a hive of activity, blacksmiths hammering at their anvils, the clang of metal echoing through the air, stable hands tending to horses, the rich, earthy smell of manure and hay, carpenters sawing and shaping wood, laundresses scrubbing clothes in large wooden tubs, their rhythmic slapping a constant sound. You see the various workshops, the stores, the barracks for the soldiers, all enclosed within the outer defenses. This is the engine room of your family's power, the practical, working heart of the castle. Beyond the castle walls, you might glimpse the surrounding village or town, a cluster of wattle and daub houses with thatched roofs, huddling for protection under the castle's shadow. You see the smoke rising from their chimneys, the movement of peasants in the fields, their lives a stark contrast to your own. You might see the market square on certain days, a riot of color, sound, and smell. Merchants hawking their wares, the bleating of sheep, the squealing of pigs, the chatter of crowds, the pungent aroma of spices, fresh bread, and unwashed bodies. This is the world of the common folk, a world you are born to rule, but one you can never truly be a part of. You see the surrounding countryside, vast forests, rolling hills, winding rivers. This landscape is both beautiful and dangerous. It is where game is hunted, where bandits might lurk, and where enemy armies could march. The changing seasons bring dramatic shifts to this view. The lush greens of summer, the fiery golds and reds of autumn, the stark, snow-covered whites of winter. These natural cycles are deeply ingrained in your understanding of time and the rhythms of life. Occasional travel breaks the monotony of castle life, but these journeys are far from comfortable or leisurely. They are arduous, often dangerous undertakings undertaken for political reasons. A visit to another family castle, a pilgrimage to a holy shrine, or, most significantly, a journey to meet a prospective husband or to your new kingdom. Imagine traveling for days or weeks on horseback, or in a rough, springless cart, over unpaved, muddy roads. The jolting, the dust, the exposure to the elements, rain, sun, wind, are relentless. The sights and sounds of travel are intense. You pass through villages and towns, seeing the faces of peasants, the squalor of their homes, the hard reality of their daily lives. You encounter other travelers, merchants, pilgrims, soldiers, some friendly, some potentially hostile. You hear the creaking of cartwheels, the shouts of the guards, the barking of dogs, the unfamiliar dialects of different regions. The smells are a sensory overload. The stench of unwashed crowds, the rich aroma of cooking fires, the sweet scent of wildflowers from the meadows, the acrid smell of wood smoke, and the pervasive odor of horse manure. Nights spent on the road are often in rough inns, which, even the best of them, are noisy, crowded, and infested with vermin. Or worse, you might camp in the open, relying on tents and the vigilance of your guards for safety. The fear of bandits, of wild animals, or of hostile forces is a constant companion. Your modern self, accustomed to smooth roads, comfortable vehicles, and safe, clean accommodations, would find these journeys an unbearable ordeal. These limited excursions, however, provide invaluable exposure. You see firsthand the diversity of your own kingdom, the different customs, the varying landscapes. You observe the faces of your people, their poverty, their resilience, their faith. This direct, albeit brief, experience deepens your understanding of the realm you are destined to influence. It teaches you that your power, while absolute within the castle, rests on the shoulders of these common folk, whose lives are far removed from your own gilded existence. The sounds that permeate your life, even within the castle, are a constant symphony of medieval existence. The clang of the blacksmith's hammer, the distant shouts of guards, the whinnying of horses, the baying of hounds, the melodic, or sometimes dissonant, strains of a lute or harp, the solemn chanting of monks, the rustle of robes, the chatter of servants, and the ever-present whisper of the wind through the battlements. At night, the castle settles into a different kind of quiet, punctuated by the hoot of an owl, the scuttling of rats in the walls, the distant cry of a sentry, and the groaning of ancient timbers. The smells are equally diverse and intense. The pervasive wood smoke, the damp stone, the sweet scent of dried herbs and flowers used to combat less pleasant odors, the aroma of cooking and stale food, the metallic tang of armor, the earthy smell of the stables, and the occasional waft of human and animal waste. These are the smells of your world, deeply imprinted on your memory, forming a visceral connection to your environment. Your perspective, shaped by these experiences, is one of both privilege and profound limitation. You are privileged to be born into a position of power and wealth, but you are limited by the physical constraints of your environment and the social restrictions of your gender and status. You learn to observe, to listen, to absorb information, and to piece together a coherent understanding of the world from fragmented glimpses and second-hand accounts. The castle walls, while protecting you, also isolate you. They define your reality, setting the boundaries of your direct experience. Your world is a microcosm, a carefully controlled environment designed to prepare you for your future role. You are a princess, and your view of the world is filtered through the lens of your royal birthright, a perspective that is both grand and confining. Your modern self, with instant access to global information and the freedom to travel anywhere, would find this existence incredibly narrow, almost claustrophobic. But for you, the medieval princess, This limited, observed world is simply the reality, the only reality you have ever known, and the one you must learn to navigate with grace, intelligence, and unwavering resilience. Your strength will lie not in your ability to explore the world, but in your capacity to understand and influence it from within your gilded cage. As you mature into your early teens, the abstract concept of your royal birthright begins to crystallize into a tangible, often heavy reality. The crown you are destined to wear might not be a physical object for many years, but its metaphorical weight presses down on you daily, shaping every decision, every lesson, every interaction. You begin to grasp, with increasing clarity, the profound political value of your existence, and the crushing lack of personal choice that accompanies it. This is the age when you fully understand that your body, your future, and your very identity are not your own, but rather valuable assets in the intricate high-stakes game of dynastic power. You are a princess. This title, so often romanticized in modern tales, is in your era a declaration of your utility. You are a living, breathing treaty, a potential bridge between warring kingdoms, a guarantee of succession, a means to expand your family's influence and territory without resorting to costly, bloody wars. Your value is calculated in land, in alliances, in the strategic placement of your future offspring on other thrones. This understanding dawns on you not through a single dramatic revelation, but through countless subtle cues, overheard conversations, and the relentless focus of your education. You listen to your father, the king, and his advisors discussing political marriages, not as unions of love, but as strategic moves on a chessboard. You hear names of potential suitors, powerful dukes, princes of neighboring realms, even aging kings, and you understand that one of these men, a stranger, will eventually become your husband. There is no concept of dating, of getting to know someone, of falling in love. Such romantic notions are luxuries afforded to commoners, if even them, but certainly not to a royal princess. Your marriage is a state affair, a matter of paramount importance to the stability and prosperity of your kingdom. The concept of dynastic marriage is drilled into you. You learn the intricate genealogies of European royalty, understanding which lines are pure, which are powerful, which carry advantageous claims to land or titles. You study the political landscape, learning about rivalries, treaties, and historical grievances. This knowledge is not just for academic interest. It is to equip you to understand the context of your own impending union. You are expected to be an intelligent, informed participant in this process, even if your actual decision-making power is nil. You must understand why you are being married and what your role in that marriage entails. Imagine the discussions around you. Whispers about a prince known for his cruelty, or a king renowned for his piety. Rumors about the fertility of a particular lineage, or the strategic location of a certain duchy. These are not idle gossip. These are the parameters of your future. You learn to listen intently, to gauge the mood of the court, to understand the implications of every diplomatic messenger arriving at your castle gates. Your ability to process and internalize this information is crucial for your survival and influence in your new court. The lack of choice is perhaps the heaviest burden. From the moment you were born, your path was largely set. You would be raised, educated, and then married off to a man chosen by your father and his council. You have no say in who he is, what he looks like, or what his temperament might be. He could be old, infirm, ugly, or even cruel. Your duty is to accept him, to bear his children, and to serve his kingdom as a loyal and virtuous consort. This is the ultimate sacrifice demanded by your royal blood. You witness the marriages of other noble women, perhaps even older sisters or cousins. You see them leave your court, often in tears, embarking on long, arduous journeys to foreign lands, to meet husbands they've never seen before. You understand that this will be your fate. The farewells are poignant, filled with unspoken anxieties and the knowledge that you might never see your family again. This experience serves as a stark preview of your own future, a constant reminder of the emotional cost of your royal station. Your body, as you develop, becomes a subject of intense scrutiny. Your health, your fertility, your physical appearance, these are all carefully monitored. A healthy, fertile princess is a valuable commodity. A beautiful princess is an even greater asset, as beauty can sweeten even the most politically expedient alliance. You are taught to present yourself with grace and dignity, to enhance your natural features, to maintain your physical well-being, not for personal vanity, but for dynastic purposes. Any illness, any perceived flaw, is a potential detriment to your marriage prospects. The concept of personal happiness as a modern individual might define it, is largely irrelevant. Your happiness is tied to the successful execution of your duties, a strong alliance, healthy children, a stable kingdom. If you find personal contentment within these bounds, it is a bonus, not an expectation. Your role is one of service and sacrifice, a life lived for the greater good of your lineage. The smells and sounds of this period are a constant backdrop to your growing understanding. The musty scent of ancient documents in your study, the metallic tang of ink as you copy genealogies, the rich aroma of feasts celebrating a new alliance, the clatter of weapons in the training yard reminding you of the alternative to marriage-based diplomacy. You hear the hushed whispers of courtiers discussing potential matches, the booming voices of heralds announcing diplomatic envoys, the solemn chanting of priests during prayers for your family's prosperity. These sensory inputs reinforce the political nature of your existence. You learn that your power, when you eventually become a queen or duchess, will be largely indirect. It will be the power of influence, of persuasion, of motherhood, of managing a household, of acting as regent in your husband's absence. You will be expected to be wise, pious, and politically astute, but always within the bounds of your gender and your husband's authority. This is not a life of direct command, but one of subtle maneuvering and strategic alliances. This period of your life is a profound emotional apprenticeship. You are learning to suppress your own desires, to cultivate a sense of detachment from your personal feelings, and to embrace the role that has been chosen for you. You are being forged into a woman who can endure the hardships of a politically motivated marriage, who can bear children for a stranger, and who can represent her family with unwavering dignity and loyalty. The weight of the crown, though invisible, is a constant pressure. It dictates your education, your daily routine, your very perception of yourself. You are not just a girl, you are a princess, an embodiment of your family's hopes and ambitions. Your modern self, with its emphasis on individual autonomy, the pursuit of personal dreams, and the freedom to choose a life partner, would find this existence incredibly harsh, a profound denial of basic human rights. But for you, the medieval princess, this is simply the inescapable reality of your birth, a destiny that, while heavy, also carries with it immense responsibility and the potential for profound influence, if you are skilled enough to wield it. You are preparing for a life that is not your own, but one that will shape the fate of kingdoms. The whispers have intensified, the diplomatic pouches have flown back and forth across kingdoms, and the grand chess match of your future has reached a critical juncture. You are now in your mid to late teens, perhaps 14, 15, or 16, and the subject of your betrothal is no longer a distant possibility but an imminent reality. This is not a romantic proposal. It is a political negotiation of the highest order, and you, the princess, are the ultimate prize, the living embodiment of a treaty. You are acutely aware of the stakes. Your family's power, their land, their security, all hinge on a successful match. Conversely, a poor match or a failed negotiation could lead to war, instability, or a diminished standing for your lineage. You are a commodity, albeit a highly prized one, and your value is meticulously assessed. Your age, your health, your beauty, your education, your dowry, and the purity of your bloodline are all weighed against the needs and desires of your prospective husband's family. The negotiations are conducted by your father and his most trusted advisors, often with the involvement of your mother, whose insights into courtly life and the personalities of foreign princesses can be invaluable. You are not present at these discussions, but you hear the echoes of them. Messengers arrive with letters, often written in Latin or a foreign tongue, detailing the terms, the amount of land or money you will bring as a dowry, the rights you will retain, the number of attendants you may bring to your new court, and crucially the assurances of your safety and status. Sometimes a portrait of your intended might arrive. This is not a flattering photograph, but a stylized painting, often depicting a figure in profile, with an emphasis on heraldry and status rather than true likeness. You study it intently, trying to glean some insight into the man who will become your husband. Is he old? Young? Does he look kind or stern? The portrait offers only a fleeting, often misleading impression, but it is all you have. You might hear rumors about him. His temperament, his accomplishments, his vices. These rumors, passed by traveling merchants or returning soldiers, are fragmented and unreliable, but they fuel your imagination and your anxieties. The emotional toll of this waiting period is immense. You are acutely aware that your entire future rests on these negotiations, over which you have absolutely no control. You are a pawn, destined to be moved across the board to a new, unfamiliar kingdom, to a stranger's bed. There is a sense of profound powerlessness, a heavy resignation. You might confide in your most trusted lady-in-waiting or your governess, expressing your fears, your hopes, however slim, or your anxieties about leaving everything familiar behind. But even these confidences are guarded, as any sign of weakness or reluctance could be seen as disloyalty to your family. You are expected to accept your fate with grace and piety. Your religious instruction emphasizes obedience to God's will and the importance of fulfilling your duties. You spend hours in prayer, seeking solace, strength, and divine guidance for the unknown path ahead. The cold stone of the chapel, the scent of incense, the flickering candlelight, these become your sanctuary, a place where you can quietly confront your fears. The moment of formal betrothal is a grand, public spectacle. It might involve a formal embassy from your intended's kingdom, or a proxy marriage where one of his representatives stands in for him. Imagine the great hall, filled with courtiers, nobles, and foreign dignitaries, all dressed in their finest attire. You, dressed in a magnificent gown, are presented before them. The atmosphere is tense, expectant. Oaths are sworn, documents are signed, and rings might be exchanged. This is a binding agreement, often as legally significant as the actual marriage itself. During this ceremony, you are expected to maintain a serene, dignified composure. Your face must betray no fear, no reluctance, no personal emotion. You are a symbol of alliance, a testament to your family's power, and your public demeanor must reflect that. The cheers and congratulations that follow are not for you as an individual, but for the successful forging of a new political bond. You are praised for your beauty, your grace, your piety, all qualities that enhance your value as a bride. After the betrothal, the preparations for your departure begin in earnest. Your dowry, which might consist of land, money, jewels, and fine goods, is meticulously prepared and catalogued. Your trousseau, a collection of clothing, linens, and personal items, is assembled. This is not a shopping spree. It is a strategic accumulation of resources designed to establish your status in your new home. You are assigned a retinue of ladies-in-waiting, servants, and guards who will accompany you, chosen not just for their loyalty, but for their ability to serve as your eyes and ears in a foreign court. The goodbye to your family is often tearful, yet still formal. Your mother might embrace you, offering words of wisdom and encouragement, perhaps a small, personal gift. Your father, the king, might offer a stern but loving blessing, reminding you of your duty and the honor you bring to your family. You say farewell to your siblings, your childhood friends among the ladies-in-waiting, and the familiar faces of the court. You are leaving behind everything you have ever known, embarking on a journey into a profoundly uncertain future. The smells of these final days in your childhood home are poignant. The familiar wood smoke, the damp stone, the scent of your mother's perfumed robes, the earthy smell of the stables as your horses are prepared for the journey. The sounds are a mix of celebration and sorrow, the clatter of preparations, the hushed goodbyes, the distant music of a final feast, and the quiet sobs of your ladies-in-waiting. You are a princess, and the betrothal game has concluded. You are now officially bound to a stranger, destined for a new kingdom, a new life, and a new set of duties. Your modern self, with its ideals of romantic love and personal choice in marriage, would find this entire process deeply disturbing, a commodification of human life. But for you, the medieval princess, it is simply the inevitable, the necessary step on the path of your royal destiny. You have been raised for this moment, prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice of personal desire for the sake of your family and your realm. The journey ahead is daunting, but you are armed with your education, your piety, and your unwavering sense of duty. The day of your departure arrives, a momentous occasion marked by both fanfare and profound trepidation. Forget the ease of modern travel, the swiftness of planes, the comfort of trains, the privacy of personal automobiles. Your journey to your new kingdom is an epic undertaking, a perilous odyssey that could last for weeks or even months, fraught with discomfort, danger, and the constant awareness that you are leaving your entire known world behind. You stand at the castle gates, perhaps on horseback or in a richly adorned, but still rudimentary carriage. Your retinue is assembled. Dozens, perhaps hundreds of people, your ladies-in-waiting, personal servants, guards, chaplains, cooks, grooms, and even artisans. Wagons laden with your dowry, your trousseau, and provisions stretch out behind you. The air is filled with the excited chatter of your entourage, the whinnying of horses, the barking of dogs, and the solemn goodbyes of your family and court. Your mother, perhaps tears in her eyes, gives you a final embrace. Your father, the king, offers a blessing and a stern reminder of your duty. The emotional weight of this farewell is immense, a visceral severing of ties to your childhood home. The journey itself is an immediate assault on your senses and your body. The roads are not paved, but often mere dirt tracks, rutted by countless carts and hooves, especially treacherous in wet weather. The carriage, if you are riding in one, lacks springs, meaning every bump, every rut sends a jarring shock through your body. You are constantly jostled, bruised, and fatigued. If you are riding on horseback, as many princesses did for long stretches, the saddle is hard and the hours are long. Your muscles ache, your back protests, and the chafing of your heavy garments is a constant discomfort. The pace is slow, dictated by the needs of such a large procession. You travel perhaps 10 to 20 miles a day, stopping frequently for rest, to water the horses, or to make camp. The days are long and exposed to the elements. In summer, the sun beats down, raising dust that coats everything and everyone. In autumn or spring, sudden downpours turn the roads into muddy quagmires, slowing progress to a crawl and drenching your clothes. In winter, the cold is relentless, biting through layers of wool and fur, the threat of snow and icy roads ever present. The landscapes you traverse are varied and often breathtaking, but you experience them through a filter of exhaustion and vigilance. Vast forests, where the shadows seem to hold unseen dangers, rolling hills, offering panoramic views but also potential ambush points. Wide, meandering rivers, often crossed by perilous fords or rickety ferries. You see the peasant villages, their humble homes and hard-working inhabitants, a stark contrast to the opulence of your retinue. You observe the local customs, the regional dialects, the different crops growing in the fields, each a subtle reminder that you are moving further and further from the familiar. Danger is a constant companion. Banditry is rife in medieval Europe, and a royal procession laden with valuables is an enticing target. Your escort of knights and armed men is large and well equipped, but vigilance is paramount. You hear the constant jingle of their armor, the occasional shouted command, the watchful silence that descends when passing through particularly dense woods or isolated stretches of road. The fear of attack, though perhaps unspoken, hangs heavy in the air. You are a valuable prize, and your capture could plunge kingdoms into chaos. Nights are spent either in designated royal residences, if available along your route or more often in rough, crowded inns or in tented camps. Royal residences offer a degree of comfort, but are still cold, drafty, and often shared with your retinue. Inns are typically noisy, dirty, and infested with fleas and other vermin. The smells of stale ale, unwashed bodies, and cooking fires mingle with the pervasive stench of the stables. Privacy is a luxury you rarely experience. When camping, your tent offers a fragile barrier against the elements and the dangers of the night, but the ground is hard and the sounds of the wilderness, the hoot of an owl, the howl of a wolf, the rustle of unseen creatures, are unsettling. Food on the journey is simple and often monotonous: dried meat, hard bread, cheese, and watered wine or ale. Fresh provisions are acquired from local villages, but quality and safety are inconsistent. Stomach upsets are common, a constant reminder of the lack of modern sanitation and food preservation. You eat quickly, discreetly, always under the watchful eye of your ladies-in-waiting, who ensure you maintain proper decorum even in the most challenging circumstances. Communication with your new family is limited. Messengers might ride ahead to announce your progress, but there is no instant communication, no way to check in with your parents or to learn more about your intended. You are moving into the unknown, relying on the information you were given before your departure, and the observations of your trusted retinue. As you cross borders, the changes become more pronounced. The architecture shifts, the language spoken by the common folk changes, the local customs are different. You are entering a new cultural landscape, a foreign land that will soon become your home. The faces of the people watching your procession change from familiar to unfamiliar, their curiosity mixed with awe and perhaps suspicion. The culmination of the journey is often a formal meeting with your intended husband, or his representatives, at a prearranged location near his capital. This is a moment of intense anxiety and scrutiny. You are presented to him, often after a long, exhausting journey, expected to look radiant, graceful, and perfectly composed. This first impression is crucial. He assesses you as you assess him. This is the moment when the abstract political arrangement becomes flesh and blood, when the man who will be your husband stands before you. The smells of the journey are a rich tapestry: the earthy smell of mud and dust, the sweet scent of wildflowers, the pungent aroma of horse sweat and manure, the acrid smell of wood smoke from campfires, the metallic tang of armor, and the ever-present underlying odor of unwashed bodies. The sounds are a constant symphony: the creaking of cartwheels, the rhythmic thud of hooves, the shouts of guards, the distant braying of donkeys, the calls of birds, the unfamiliar accents of different regions, the crackle of campfires, and the whisper of the wind through the trees. You arrive at your destination, perhaps the capital city of your new kingdom, exhausted but resolute. The journey has been a test of endurance, a trial by fire. It has stripped away any remaining illusions about the glamour of your royal life, replacing them with a stark understanding of its physical demands and emotional costs. You have left your family, your home, and your childhood behind. You are now truly a princess of a new kingdom, ready to face the next, most significant chapter of your life: marriage to a stranger and the burden of producing heirs. Your modern self, used to comfortable, swift travel and personal choice, would find this journey an almost unimaginable ordeal, but for you, the medieval princess, it is simply the price of your birthright, a necessary rite of passage into your destiny. The journey, arduous and long, has finally ended. You arrive at the gates of your new kingdom's capital, or perhaps the castle of your intended husband, utterly exhausted but with every fiber of your being focused on the imminent, overwhelming reality of your wedding. Forget the modern concept of a wedding as a celebration of love and personal commitment. For you, a medieval princess, it is a grand, public spectacle of political alliance, a solemn ritual designed to bind two powerful families and, most crucially, to ensure the production of legitimate heirs. And at its heart lies the terrifying prospect of sharing a bed with a stranger. The days leading up to the wedding are a whirlwind of ceremony and preparation. You are introduced to your new court, a bewildering array of unfamiliar faces, customs, and power dynamics. You meet your future in-laws, your husband's family, whose scrutiny is intense. Every gesture, every word, every piece of your attire is observed and judged. You are dressed in the finest silks and velvets, adorned with jewels, your hair meticulously styled and veiled. These garments are heavy, restrictive, and designed for display, not comfort. The air is thick with anticipation, the scent of fresh flowers, expensive perfumes, and the underlying pervasive smell of a large, bustling court. The wedding ceremony itself is a long, formal affair, often held in a grand cathedral or the castle chapel. It is a public declaration of your union, witnessed by nobles, clergy, and commoners alike. The service is conducted in Latin, the words of the vows echoing through the stone arches, binding you to a man you barely know. You stand beside him, a figure of immense political significance, your face carefully composed to betray no emotion. The weight of your gown, the heat of the candles, the sheer length of the ceremony, all contribute to a sense of overwhelming grandeur and solemnity. You exchange rings, symbols of your eternal bond, a promise made not just to each other but to God and to your respective kingdoms. But the most significant and often most terrifying part of the wedding ritual is not the vows, but the consummation. This is not a private, intimate moment, but a public, politically charged event. After the wedding feast, a boisterous and extravagant affair filled with music, feasting, and entertainment, you and your new husband are formally escorted to the bedchamber. This is the bedding ceremony, a tradition designed to ensure the legitimacy of the marriage and, by extension, the legitimacy of any future children. Imagine the scene. The bedchamber, while perhaps the grandest in the castle, is far from a private sanctuary. It is filled with members of the court, your ladies-in-waiting, his noblemen, perhaps even your new in-laws. They are there to witness the physical joining of the couple, to ensure that the marriage is, indeed, consummated. This public display is meant to leave no doubt about the validity of the union. You are helped into your nightclothes, often by your ladies, while your husband is similarly prepared by his men. The atmosphere is a bizarre mix of formality, ribald humor, and intense scrutiny. The air is thick with the smell of wine, roast meat, and nervous anticipation. You are then placed in the marriage bed, a large, often elaborately carved wooden structure, likely adorned with rich hangings and heavy blankets. Your husband joins you. The witnesses remain in the room or just outside the door, listening, waiting for any sign of the marriage's completion. There is often singing, joking, and sometimes even explicit instructions or encouragement shouted by the onlookers. This is an incredibly invasive, humiliating, and emotionally brutal experience. You are a young woman, likely a virgin, forced into a deeply intimate act with a stranger, under the watchful eyes and ears of a crowd. The pressure to perform to ensure the consummation is immense. Failure to do so could lead to questions about the validity of the marriage, accusations of impotence or witchcraft, and potentially even annulment, which would be a catastrophic blow to your family's honor and the alliance itself. The expectation is that you will submit, fulfill your duty, and endure this public ordeal with as much grace and dignity as possible. There is no room for personal feelings, for fear, for embarrassment. Your body is a tool, and this act is its primary function. After a suitable period, the witnesses might be invited back in, or a chamberlain might inspect the bed linens for proof of consummation, often a blood-stained sheet, a stark and brutal symbol of your lost virginity and the successful completion of your duty. Only then, with the public acknowledgement of the consummation, does the room slowly clear, leaving you and your new husband finally alone. The immediate aftermath is often one of profound exhaustion, emotional shock, and perhaps a deep sense of violation. You are now truly bound irrevocably to this man and his family. The intimacy that follows, if any, is not born of love or desire, but of duty and necessity. Your primary purpose now is to produce heirs, specifically male heirs, to secure the succession of your new kingdom. The days and weeks that follow are a period of intense adjustment. You must learn your husband's preferences, the customs of his court, the intricacies of his family's politics. You are a foreign princess, an outsider, and you must navigate this new environment with intelligence, diplomacy, and unwavering resilience. Your ladies-in-waiting, those few who accompanied you from your home kingdom, become your closest allies and confidants, a vital link to your past life. The smells of your new life are a mix of the familiar and the foreign. The pervasive wood smoke, the damp stone, the scent of your husband's body, the perfumes of his court, the unfamiliar spices used in his kitchens. The sounds are equally diverse. His voice, the chatter of his courtiers, the music of his minstrels, the new language spoken around you, the sounds of a different castle, a different rhythm of life. You are now a queen consort or a duchess, a woman of immense power and responsibility, but also one whose life is entirely dictated by the demands of her station. You have sacrificed your personal autonomy, your emotional comfort, and your youthful innocence on the altar of dynastic ambition. Your modern self, with its emphasis on consent, privacy, and personal choice in marriage, would find this entire experience horrifying, a profound violation of human dignity. But for you, the medieval princess, it is simply the reality of your birthright, the harsh truth of a life lived for the crown, a life now irrevocably bound to a stranger's bed and the future of a foreign kingdom. You have fulfilled your first great duty, but many more lie ahead. You have survived the arduous journey, the public spectacle of your wedding, and the traumatic consummation. Now the true test begins, becoming the mistress of a foreign court, a queen consort or duchess in a land that is not your own. Forget the notion of a honeymoon period or a gentle transition. You are immediately plunged into a complex world of new customs, unfamiliar faces, and intricate power dynamics, all while bearing the immense pressure to prove your worth and secure your position. Your primary duty, immediately after the wedding, is to adapt. You are an outsider, a foreign princess, and every aspect of your behavior will be scrutinized by your new family, your husband's courtiers, and the people of your new kingdom. Your success hinges on your ability to quickly learn the language, if it's different from your native tongue, and to master the local customs, etiquette, and social graces. Your tutors who accompanied you continue their work, but now with a heightened sense of urgency. Imagine the constant effort of listening, deciphering, and practicing, always aware that a misstep could be seen as ignorance, disrespect, or even a deliberate slight. Your relationship with your husband is paramount, yet often distant. While you are now bound by marriage, emotional intimacy is not guaranteed or even expected. Your bond is primarily political and dynastic. You are expected to be a loyal, obedient, and respectful wife, providing counsel when asked, but never openly challenging his authority. Your days are often spent separately, with your husband engaged in matters of state, warfare, or hunting, while you manage your household and perform your own duties. You learn to interpret his moods, to understand his expectations, and to navigate his personality, which might range from kind and supportive to indifferent or even cruel. One of your most immediate and significant tasks is to establish and manage your own household within the larger court. This is not a small undertaking. You have brought a retinue of your own from your home kingdom, ladies-in-waiting, maids, chaplains, and perhaps even cooks and scribes. These individuals form your inner circle, your eyes and ears, and your emotional support system. But you must also integrate with the existing court, selecting new servants, delegating responsibilities, and ensuring the smooth functioning of your household. This involves a delicate balance of asserting your authority while also respecting established traditions and avoiding alienating powerful figures. Court politics are a treacherous labyrinth. You are surrounded by ambitious nobles, jealous rivals, and factions vying for influence. Your new in-laws, particularly your mother-in-law, can be either a powerful ally or a formidable opponent. You must learn who to trust, who to avoid, and how to subtly build your own network of supporters. This requires keen observation, diplomatic skill, and the ability to read unspoken cues. You learn to listen more than you speak, to gather information, and to choose your words carefully, knowing that any perceived misstep can be exploited. Your duties extend beyond managing your household. You are expected to be a visible and active participant in the religious life of the court, attending daily mass, sponsoring charities, and demonstrating unwavering piety. This reinforces your virtue and legitimacy in the eyes of the people and the clergy. You also participate in courtly events, feasts, hunts, tournaments, and diplomatic receptions. These are not merely entertainments. They are opportunities to display your grace, your knowledge of etiquette, and your ability to charm and influence. You are a living symbol of your husband's power and the alliance you represent. The greatest pressure, however, is the expectation of producing heirs. This is the ultimate justification for your marriage, the singular purpose that overshadows all others. Every month that passes without a sign of pregnancy brings increasing anxiety, not just for you but for the entire court. You are constantly monitored, subtle questions are asked, and remedies are suggested. The focus is overwhelmingly on a male heir, as the continuation of the dynastic line rests on your ability to produce a son. This pressure is immense, a constant heavy weight that colors every aspect of your life. Your health becomes a matter of state. Any illness, particularly one that might affect your fertility, is treated with urgency. The medieval medical practices, a blend of herbalism, superstition, and crude procedures, are often more terrifying than the ailment itself. You are subjected to various remedies, purges, and bloodlettings, all designed to ensure your physical well-being and, by extension, your reproductive capacity. The cultural differences can be profound. The food, the music, the clothing styles, the social customs, all might be subtly or dramatically different from what you grew up with. You must learn to appreciate and adapt to these new traditions, demonstrating respect for your new kingdom. This might involve adopting new fashions, learning new songs, or even acquiring a taste for different culinary delights, all while subtly retaining elements of your own heritage to remind others of your powerful lineage. Your personal feelings and desires are largely secondary to your duties. There is little room for homesickness, loneliness, or personal unhappiness. You are expected to be resilient, to endure, and to perform your role with unwavering dedication. Your identity, once shaped by your birth family, is now being reforged to serve your husband's kingdom. The smells of your new court are a rich tapestry: the pervasive wood smoke, the damp stone, the scent of your husband's body and his specific perfumes, the unfamiliar spices used in his kitchens, the unique aroma of his local wines, and the lingering scent of incense from the chapel. The sounds are equally diverse: the rhythm of a different language, the specific melodies of local minstrels, the new calls of the guards, the clatter of a different set of servants, the unique sounds of a new castle, and the ever-present hum of a foreign court. You are a mistress of a foreign court, a powerful figure, but one constantly navigating a complex web of expectations, pressures, and subtle dangers. You have to be intelligent, adaptable, resilient, and politically astute to survive and thrive. Your modern self, with its emphasis on individual happiness, personal fulfillment, and the freedom to choose your environment, would find this existence incredibly demanding, a profound sacrifice of personal autonomy for the sake of duty. But for you, the medieval princess, this is simply the reality of your life, the challenge you must meet to secure your place in history and ensure the future of your adopted kingdom. You are no longer just a princess. You are a queen, and the weight of that crown is a constant, tangible presence. You are now queen consort or duchess, and the whispers, once subtle, have become a clamor. The primary, overwhelming purpose of your marriage, and indeed of your very existence as a royal woman, is to produce heirs. Forget the modern sentimentality surrounding pregnancy and childbirth. For you, a medieval princess, this is a matter of state, a brutal, high-stakes gamble with your life and the future of your kingdom. Your womb is not merely a part of your body, it is a vital organ of the state, carrying the burden of dynastic continuity. The moment you miss your monthly flow, the entire court holds its breath. There are no discreet home pregnancy tests, no early doctor's visits. Instead, women of the court, often led by your mother-in-law or a senior lady, apply their traditional knowledge. They observe your appetite, your complexion, your moods. Herbal remedies might be suggested to bring on the flow if it's merely delayed, or to strengthen the pregnancy if it is confirmed. The news, once reasonably certain, spreads like wildfire through the court, bringing a mixture of relief, excitement, and renewed pressure. Your pregnancy is not a private journey. It is a public affair, meticulously managed and observed. Your diet is carefully controlled, often with an emphasis on nourishing, rich foods, though the medieval understanding of nutrition is rudimentary. You are advised to avoid certain activities, to pray frequently, and to ensure your spiritual well-being. Superstitions abound. You might be encouraged to look at beautiful objects to ensure a beautiful child, or to avoid frightening sights. Every aspect of your life is geared towards a successful, healthy birth. The physical discomforts of pregnancy are immense, exacerbated by the lack of modern medicine. Morning sickness is endured without relief. The growing weight of the child puts strain on your back and joints, made worse by heavy, restrictive clothing. There are no prenatal vitamins, no regular checkups with a physician, no ultrasounds to monitor the baby's health or position. You rely on the wisdom of older women, the prayers of priests, and your own resilience. The greatest fear, however, is childbirth itself. This is the moment of truth, a terrifying dance with death for both mother and child. Maternal mortality rates are staggeringly high. Infections, hemorrhage, prolonged labor, difficult presentations. These are not rare complications but common, life-threatening realities. You have witnessed or heard stories of other women, noble and common, who did not survive. This knowledge hangs over you, a constant, chilling reminder of the peril ahead. As your due date approaches, the lying-in period begins. You withdraw from public life, often isolating yourself in specially prepared chambers, sometimes even surrounded by religious relics and charms, all meant to ensure a safe delivery. This is a time of intense prayer, quiet contemplation, and perhaps a deep, unsettling fear. The air in the chamber is thick with the scent of herbs, beeswax candles, and the unspoken anxieties of your attendants. The labor itself is a brutal, agonizing ordeal. Forget epidurals, C-sections, or even basic pain relief. You are surrounded by women, midwives, wet nurses, your ladies-in-waiting, perhaps your mother-in-law, all offering encouragement, prayers, and sometimes rather crude assistance. Your husband, the father, is typically not present. Childbirth is considered a woman's domain. The sounds of your screams, your groans, the frantic whispers of the women, and the chanted prayers fill the chamber. The smells are visceral: blood, sweat, bodily fluids, and the strong scent of herbal concoctions meant to ease the pain or hasten the birth. The delivery is messy, dangerous, and prolonged. The midwife, working with limited knowledge and often unsanitary conditions, does her best to guide the baby's passage. Tools are few and interventions are risky. The primary goal is simply to get the baby out alive, and for you to survive the process. Many women do not. Many babies do not. When the child finally emerges, the immediate concern is its survival and, crucially, its gender. A cry of "It's a boy" brings immense relief and celebration, a palpable wave of joy washing over the chamber. The dynasty is secured, the alliance strengthened, your duty fulfilled. If it is a girl, the relief is still present for a live birth, but often tinged with a subtle, yet undeniable, disappointment. Another girl is valuable, a future alliance, but not the direct heir. The pressure to try again to produce a son immediately resumes. After the birth, you are exhausted, bleeding, and vulnerable. The immediate threat of infection is paramount. The umbilical cord is cut and tied, often with unsterilized instruments. The placenta must be delivered. Your body is ravaged and your recovery is slow and often painful. There are no antibiotics, no modern wound care. Puerperal fever, a common and deadly infection, claims countless mothers. You are a survivor if you make it through. The cycle often repeats. Royal women are expected to bear many children, as infant and childhood mortality rates are so high that many births are required to ensure the survival of even a few heirs. You might experience multiple pregnancies, multiple labors, each one a renewed gamble with your life, each one bringing the same immense pressure and physical toll. Miscarriages and stillbirths are also common, leading to periods of profound grief and guilt, often interpreted as divine displeasure. Your body, battered by repeated pregnancies and births, is forever changed. Your youth and vitality are consumed by the relentless demands of procreation. Your modern self, with access to advanced reproductive health care, pain management, and a focus on individual choice regarding family size, would find this experience horrifying, a profound denial of bodily autonomy and a brutal test of endurance. The smells of these years are intensely visceral. The sweet, metallic tang of blood, the earthy scent of bodily fluids, the strong aroma of herbal remedies, the pervasive smell of wood smoke, and the faint, comforting scent of your newborn. The sounds are equally raw. Your own cries of pain, the frantic whispers of the women, the first fragile cry of a newborn, the solemn prayers, and the underlying hum of a court perpetually awaiting the next royal birth. You are a medieval princess, and your womb is your greatest burden and your greatest power. It is the crucible of your destiny, the site where the future of your kingdom is forged. You endure the pain, the fear, and the immense pressure, all for the sake of your lineage. You are a mother, yes, but first and foremost, you are a vessel for the crown, a living guarantee of dynastic continuity, a woman whose life is defined by the relentless, often brutal, cycle of procreation. You have survived childbirth, perhaps multiple times, and now you face the next crucial stage of your royal life: motherhood. Forget the intense, hands-on, emotionally centered parenting of modern times. For you, a medieval princess, motherhood is a deeply complex role, intertwined with dynastic duty, political strategy, and the constant delegation of care. Your children are not merely your beloved offspring. They are vital pieces on the royal chessboard, and their upbringing is a matter of state. From the moment your child is born, the delegation of care begins. As with your own infancy, your baby is immediately handed over to a wet nurse. This is not a choice but an established royal custom. Your primary role is to ensure the wet nurse is healthy, of good character, and has an abundant supply of milk. While you might visit the nursery, hold your child briefly, or offer a blessing, the intimate, round-the-clock feeding and comforting is the responsibility of another woman. This allows you, the queen, to recover from childbirth and return to your crucial public and political duties. It also ensures that your own fertility is not suppressed by prolonged breastfeeding, allowing you to conceive again more quickly. A constant pressure to produce more heirs, especially sons. As your children grow from infancy into early childhood, they are entrusted to the care of governesses, tutors, and an array of servants. Your role shifts to one of oversight and direction. You choose their caregivers, ensuring they are pious, well-educated, and loyal. You monitor their progress, their health, and their behavior. You might spend time with them during meals, in the chapel, or during formal visits, but your interactions are often structured and formal rather than spontaneous and playful. Your children's education is a paramount concern, and you are deeply involved in its planning. For your sons, the future kings, their education is rigorous, focusing on martial skills, governance, languages, history, and theology. For your daughters, like yourself, their education is tailored for dynastic marriages, emphasizing languages, etiquette, piety, and household management. You understand that their upbringing is not about nurturing individual talents for personal fulfillment, but about preparing them for their predetermined roles in the grand scheme of royal power. Discipline is often strict, reflecting the harsh realities of the age. Children, even royal ones, are expected to be obedient, respectful, and to internalize the rigid social hierarchy. Physical reprimands are common, administered by governesses or tutors, not by you directly. Your role is to instill virtue, piety, and a strong sense of duty, ensuring your children grow into worthy representatives of their lineage. The emotional bond with your children, while undoubtedly present, is often expressed differently than in modern times. Public displays of affection are rare. Love is often intertwined with duty, pride in their accomplishments, and anxiety over their health and future. You worry about their survival, knowing the high rates of childhood mortality. You grieve deeply for any child lost to illness or accident, a sorrow that is both personal and a political setback. Your children are political assets from birth. Their potential marriages are discussed from their earliest years, long before they can even comprehend the implications. You become a participant in the betrothal game for your own children, negotiating alliances, assessing potential partners, and agonizing over the choices that will shape their lives and the future of your kingdom. You know the pain of being a pawn, and now you must, in turn, guide your children into similar roles. As your children mature, your sons are sent to other noble courts for part of their education, often as pages or squires, to learn the ways of chivalry and warfare. Your daughters, too, might be sent to other courts or to convents, to further their education and refine their manners, or simply to remove them from your court if a suitable marriage is not immediately available. These separations are painful, but they are understood as necessary for their development and for the strategic placement of your family. You are a constant source of advice and counsel for your children, especially your daughters. You teach them the subtle arts of courtly diplomacy, the importance of piety, the nuances of managing a household, and the resilience required to navigate a life dictated by duty. You share your own experiences, preparing them for the challenges they will face as royal brides in foreign lands. The greatest triumph of your motherhood is the successful production of a healthy male heir, and subsequently, the establishment of a robust line of succession. This secures your position, enhances your influence, and fulfills your primary duty to your husband and his kingdom. Your legacy is intrinsically linked to the children you bear and raise, particularly your sons. The smells of your children's lives are a mix of the familiar and the new, the sweet scent of their skin, the faint smell of their wet nurse's milk, the wood smoke of their nurseries, the earthy smell of the stables where they learn to ride, and the unique aroma of their developing personalities. The sounds are a constant symphony, their cries, their laughter, the drone of their tutors' lessons, the clang of their practice swords, the music they learn to play, and the whispered prayers they recite. Your modern self, with its emphasis on emotional bonding, individual development, and the freedom to choose a parenting style, would find this medieval approach to motherhood deeply impersonal and emotionally distant. But for you, the medieval princess and now queen, this is simply the reality of your station. You are a monarch, and your motherhood is a powerful, strategic force, shaping the future of kingdoms through the children you bring into the world and the way you prepare them for their own demanding destinies. You are not just a mother, you are a dynastic architect, and your children are your living legacy. You have established yourself in your new kingdom, born children, and navigated the treacherous waters of court politics. Now, as you mature into a seasoned queen consort, your power begins to solidify, though it remains largely indirect. Forget the modern concept of a queen as a ceremonial figurehead. In the Middle Ages, a queen, particularly one who has produced heirs, can wield immense influence, acting as the power behind the throne, a shrewd political operator in her own right. This is where your education, your resilience, and your diplomatic skills truly come into their own. Your influence stems primarily from your position as the mother of the heir. This grants you a unique authority, a vested interest in the future of the kingdom that no other courtier can claim. Your husband, the king, relies on you for counsel, particularly on matters concerning diplomacy, alliances, and the upbringing of your children. You become his trusted advisor, often acting as a sounding board, offering perspectives that others might be too afraid to voice. Imagine the subtle power of a whispered word in his ear, a carefully chosen suggestion during a private conversation, or a well-timed piece of advice that subtly steers his decisions. One of your most significant roles is acting as regent. If your husband is away on campaign, on crusade, or incapacitated by illness, the governance of the kingdom often falls to you. This is a period of immense responsibility and direct power. You issue decrees, oversee the administration of justice, manage the royal treasury, and command the military. You hold court, receive foreign ambassadors, and make critical decisions that affect the lives of thousands. This is not a ceremonial role, it is the full, unvarnished exercise of royal authority. Imagine the weight of these decisions, the pressure to maintain stability, to protect your kingdom from internal dissent and external threats, all while your husband's fate is uncertain. Your diplomatic skills become finely honed. You maintain correspondence with your own birth family, acting as a crucial link between two kingdoms. You receive foreign envoys, understanding the nuances of their messages, discerning their true intentions. You might host other royal women, forging alliances through personal relationships, a powerful women's diplomacy that often complements or even supersedes the formal negotiations of men. You understand that marriages are not just about land, they are about people, and your ability to build trust and rapport with other powerful women can secure lasting peace. You are also a patron of the arts, of religious institutions, and of scholars. You commission tapestries, illuminated manuscripts, and architectural projects, leaving your own cultural legacy. You found convents, support monasteries, and endow churches, demonstrating your piety and earning spiritual merit. You might gather scholars and poets around you, fostering intellectual and artistic pursuits. These acts are not merely benevolent. They enhance your prestige, demonstrate your wealth, and provide employment, subtly strengthening your position within the kingdom. Your household is a significant center of power in itself. You oversee a vast staff of ladies-in-waiting, clerks, chaplains, and servants. These individuals are loyal to you, forming a powerful network of influence. Your ladies-in-waiting, often daughters of powerful nobles, serve as your eyes and ears, gathering intelligence and acting as your emissaries. Through them, you exert influence over various noble families, creating a web of patronage and allegiance. Religious piety remains a cornerstone of your influence. Your public devotion, your acts of charity, and your patronage of the church earn you respect and moral authority. You are seen as a virtuous, God-fearing queen, a spiritual guide for your people. This moral standing can be a powerful tool, allowing you to intercede on behalf of others, to mitigate harsh judgments, or to promote peace. However, your power is always contingent. It is derived from your husband and later from your son. If your husband should die and your son is too young to rule, your regency can be challenged by ambitious nobles. If you fail to produce heirs or if your children die, your position becomes precarious. Your influence is a delicate balance, constantly requiring careful navigation and strategic alliances. You must be astute enough to recognize threats, to anticipate challenges, and to act decisively when necessary. The smells of these years are a blend of the familiar and the powerful. The rich scent of parchment and ink from official documents, the lingering aroma of incense from the chapel where you pray for guidance, the metallic tang of coins in the royal treasury, the perfumes of foreign envoys, and the constant, underlying smell of power. The sounds are equally diverse. The hushed whispers of courtiers seeking your favor, the booming voices of legal proceedings you oversee, the rhythmic chanting of prayers for the kingdom's prosperity, the distant clang of armor from the training grounds, and the rustle of important documents being exchanged. You are a medieval princess who has grown into a powerful queen. Your life, once dictated by the will of others, now allows you to exert your own will, albeit indirectly. You are a master of soft power, a weaver of influence, a strategic mind operating within the constraints of your gender and your era. Your modern self, accustomed to direct political action and explicit leadership roles, might still find these avenues of power subtle and frustratingly indirect. But for you, the medieval queen, this is the art of survival and influence, a testament to your intelligence, your resilience, and your unwavering commitment to your lineage and your kingdom. You are not just a figurehead. You are a force to be reckoned with, shaping the destiny of nations from behind the throne. As you navigate your adult life as a queen, two specters loom large, constantly threatening to upend your carefully constructed world: widowhood and war. Forget the modern luxury of personal financial independence or the relative stability of nation-states. In the Middle Ages, these events are not just personal tragedies or political crises. They are existential threats that can strip you of power, plunge you into vulnerability, and reshape the very fabric of your existence. Widowhood for a medieval queen is a precarious state. While you might hold significant dower lands allocated for your support should your husband die, and considerable wealth, your power is fundamentally tied to your husband or your son. If your husband dies, especially if your son is still a minor, you become a queen dowager, a figure of immense potential influence but also profound vulnerability. The court, once united under your husband, can fracture into factions, with ambitious nobles vying for control of the young heir and, by extension, the kingdom. Imagine the scene of your husband's death. The suddenness, the grief, the immediate scramble for power. The castle, usually bustling, falls into a somber, anxious hush. The air is thick with the scent of mourning clothes, stale tears, and the lingering fear of instability. You, as the Queen Dowager, must act swiftly and decisively. Your first duty is to secure your son's claim to the throne, often by having him crowned immediately. Then, if he is a minor, you must assert your right to act as regent, a role that, while powerful, is constantly challenged. As a regent, you face immense pressure. You must maintain law and order, defend the kingdom from external threats, and manage the royal treasury, all while navigating the treacherous waters of court politics. Ambitious relatives of your late husband or powerful nobles might try to undermine your authority, questioning your fitness to rule, your judgment, or even your loyalty. You rely on your wits, your established network of loyal supporters, and the legitimacy of your position as the mother of the king. Your education in languages, history, and diplomacy becomes invaluable as you deal with foreign powers and internal rebellions. This period of regency is a constant tightrope walk. You must be strong yet not appear overly ambitious, decisive yet not tyrannical. You make difficult decisions, send armies to war, negotiate treaties, and dispense justice. The weight of the crown, once metaphorical, is now a heavy, tangible burden. The smells of this time might be the metallic tang of armor as you inspect your troops, the musty scent of documents as you sign decrees, the sweet aroma of incense during prayers for guidance, and the constant underlying smell of tension. The sounds are equally diverse: the clang of weapons, the shouts of soldiers, the urgent whispers of advisors, the solemn chanting of funeral rites, and the distant rumble of war drums. War, whether external or internal, is another ever-present threat. Your kingdom is not an isolated entity. It is part of a complex, often violent, geopolitical landscape. Border disputes, dynastic claims, religious differences, or trade rivalries can ignite conflict at any moment. As a queen, you are deeply involved in the preparations for war, often helping to raise funds, gather supplies, and inspire loyalty among the nobility. When your husband or son goes to war, you are left to manage the kingdom, to maintain morale, and to pray for their safe return. During wartime, the castle transforms. It becomes a military stronghold, filled with soldiers, weapons, and the constant hum of preparation. The Great Hall, once a place of feasts, might become a planning room for military campaigns. The sounds of clashing swords from the training yard, the shouts of commanders, the whinnying of war horses, and the distant reports of skirmishes become the soundtrack of your days. The smells are sharp: the metallic tang of blood and sweat, the acrid scent of gunpowder, if it's in use, the smoky odor of burning villages in the distance, and the pervasive smell of fear. The personal cost of war is immense. You worry constantly about the safety of your husband, your sons, and the men of your court. You receive news of battles, of victories and defeats, of casualties. You comfort grieving widows and mothers, demonstrating your compassion and strengthening your bond with your people. You might even oversee the care of wounded soldiers, turning parts of the castle into makeshift infirmaries. If your husband falls in battle or if your son is killed, the cycle of vulnerability and the struggle for power begins anew. The threat of invasion, of your kingdom falling into enemy hands, or of a rival claimant seizing the throne, becomes very real. You must be prepared to defend your lineage, perhaps even to flee with your remaining children, or to negotiate a surrender that preserves as much of your family's power as possible. Sometimes, a queen dowager might choose to retire to a convent, or to a private dower estate, relinquishing her direct involvement in politics. This offers a measure of peace and security, a retreat from the constant pressures of court life. But even then, your influence can still be felt, and your wealth and connections remain significant. Your modern self, with its access to social safety nets, pensions, and the relative peace of modern governance, would find the uncertainty and vulnerability of medieval widowhood and war terrifying. The constant threat to your power, your safety, and the lives of your loved ones would be an unbearable burden. But for you, the medieval queen, these are simply the inescapable realities of your royal existence. You are a survivor, a strategist, and a steadfast protector of your lineage, always prepared to face the next crisis with courage, intelligence, and unwavering resolve. Your life is a constant battle for stability, and you are a formidable warrior, even if your weapons are diplomacy and political acumen rather than a sword. You have lived a life unlike any other, a tapestry woven with threads of grandeur, sacrifice, and relentless duty. Now, as you reach old age, perhaps in your 50s or 60s, a remarkable feat in itself for the Middle Ages, the frenetic pace of court life begins to slow, allowing for a rare luxury, reflection. Forget the modern concept of retirement, of leisurely travel and personal pursuits. Your sunset years are still steeped in the vestiges of your royal station, but they offer a unique vantage point from which to view the enduring impact of your life and the legacy you have forged. Your physical body bears the indelible marks of your existence. Years of heavy, restrictive clothing have perhaps stooped your shoulders or left permanent marks on your skin. The cold, damp castles have likely given you persistent aches and pains, perhaps arthritis or rheumatism. Your eyes, strained by countless hours of reading by candlelight, may be failing. Your teeth, without modern dental care, are likely few and far between, a testament to a lifetime of medieval diet and hygiene. You are a woman of advanced years, a survivor in an age where few reached such an age, and your appearance reflects every battle won, every hardship endured. Despite the physical toll, your mind remains sharp, honed by decades of political maneuvering, diplomatic exchanges, and the constant demands of governance. You are a living repository of history, a walking chronicle of your kingdom's triumphs and tribulations. Your wisdom is highly sought after, and you become a respected elder stateswoman, a revered matriarch whose counsel is invaluable to your son, the reigning monarch, and to your grandchildren. Your daily routine may be less demanding, but it is still structured. You might spend more time in prayer, in quiet contemplation, or in the company of your most trusted ladies-in-waiting. You supervise the education of your grandchildren, passing on your knowledge of languages, etiquette, and the intricate dance of courtly life. You tell them stories of your own youth, of the challenges you faced, and of the importance of their royal duty, shaping the next generation of rulers. You might retire to a dower castle, a comfortable estate specifically designated for your support as a queen dowager. This offers a degree of peace and privacy not often afforded during your active reign. Here you can indulge in quieter pursuits, overseeing your gardens, embroidering, or simply enjoying the rare luxury of solitude. Yet, even in retirement, you remain a powerful figure, a symbol of continuity and stability, a living link to the past. Messengers still arrive, seeking your advice, reporting on affairs of state, or simply paying their respects. Your legacy is tangible. You see the strong alliances you helped forge, the children and grandchildren who carry your bloodline, the cultural projects you patronized, the churches you endowed. You reflect on the wars averted through your diplomacy, the stability you brought during your regency, and the influence you wielded over your husband's reign. Your life, though often devoid of personal choice, has had a profound and lasting impact on the fate of nations. The emotional landscape of your old age is complex. There is pride in your accomplishments, satisfaction in having fulfilled your duty, and perhaps a quiet contentment in seeing your lineage thrive. But there is also grief for those you have lost. Your parents, your husband, perhaps some of your children or grandchildren who succumbed to disease or war. You carry the weight of these losses, the quiet sorrow of a life lived through profound personal sacrifice. You reflect on the contrast between the idealized image of a princess and the gritty reality you experienced. The cold stone, the constant threat of disease, the lack of privacy, the political marriages, the pain of childbirth, the ever-present danger of war. These were the true threads of your existence. You understand, perhaps more deeply than anyone, the immense cost of your royal birthright. The smells of your old age are a comforting blend of familiar and reflective. The scent of old parchment and beeswax candles from your study, the sweet aroma of dried herbs from your garden, the faint, comforting smell of wood smoke from your hearth, and perhaps the lingering scent of lavender from your linens. The sounds are quieter now, the rustle of your robes, the soft voices of your attendants, the distant laughter of your grandchildren, the gentle chirping of crickets outside your window, and the rhythmic chanting of prayers, a constant companion throughout your life. As your own physical decline progresses, you prepare for the final journey, the ultimate transition from the temporal to the eternal. Your faith, a constant bedrock throughout your life, provides solace and strength. You receive the last rites, surrounded by your family and trusted advisors, ready to meet your Maker. Your death, like your birth and your marriage, is a public event, marked by solemn ceremony, elaborate funerals, and a period of official mourning. Your body, once a political instrument, is laid to rest in a grand tomb, often within a royal abbey, a final monument to your enduring legacy. You are a medieval princess who has lived a full, demanding, and impactful life. You have transcended the limitations of your gender and your era to become a force that shaped history. Your modern self, with its emphasis on individual freedom and personal happiness, would find your life a brutal, almost unimaginable sacrifice. But for you, the medieval queen, it was simply your destiny, a path walked with courage, resilience, and an unwavering sense of duty. You were born into a gilded cage, but within its confines, you found a way to wield immense power, to leave an indelible mark, and to shape the future of kingdoms. Your life, from your first uncertain breath to your final, peaceful exhalation, was a testament to the extraordinary strength required to be a royal woman in the heart of the Middle Ages.